Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm gonna go over my Elysium AL0 miners. I have two of them overclocked and two of them not overclocked, and I want to compare side to side. This is important because you can't just put one miner today on one pool and overclock it, and then next day not overclock it, because it will not be the same data every single day. Obviously, what I'm trying to do here is use exactly same pool. So these two miners are overclocked, A01 and 02, okay? So that's my first two. I overclocked them. There was a little slight issue to get them up and running, but they finally worked to 75, the maximum overclock. So I'm getting basically around 450s, right? I mean, over there, like even here on 24 hours, last 24 hours, it's been pretty good. It's almost 460, 453 over here. You could see on two of these miners. Sorry, I had to scroll up a little bit so you could see both of them. Now my two other miners, not overclocked. So these two guys, they're not overclocked. They just run in stock firmware, exactly in the same, connected to the same router, same pool, and in the same environment. So they're right next to each other, pretty much with the same cooling of internal fans. I'm not using much of external other than just kind of cool off a little bit environment because they're kind of hot in the garage. But anyways, back to the point is these two guys look like pretty similar. If you look, I don't know why this went up like to 466, but just a little spike there. It's very typical on them to go even to 500 and then they would drop. So the average here, what important is 24 hours. That's why I kind of go over this 24 hours number. It's about 834 here, right? So, and my overclocked getting 916 on 24. So they're almost like 70, around 70 gigahash. Let's round it up. 70 gigahash difference, which is 35 gigahash per miner, right? So with the power consumption, it's about 20 watt difference for me. So it's 20 watt on each miner, right? So it's about 40 watts that I'm spending extra now. And so we're going to go back to electrical cost and all that for me and see if it makes sense or not for me to do this overclock even now. Now, obviously the hash rate of the lithium going up crazy every single day. When we just got the miner, it was 3 petahash. When somewhere here on August 25th, I believe, right, it was 3.4. We immediately went in 2 days to 6, doubled, and it's been doubled again in a week or 2 weeks by September 15 by 12 pentahash, and it's already petahash, and now it's 15.6 petahash, which is insane. So it's about 5 times since the AL0 just came out from iceriver. It's 5 times the network hash rate, and it's almost 12 a petahash on the network. This is just crazy, guys, to think, because it's about 12. It's about $2,000 initial investment was per gigahash. So if we think about 12,000, that's terahash, right? That's 12,000 terahash. No, per terahash is $2,000. So 12,000, we're gonna multiply by $2,000. It's $24 million into this network hash rate. Not sure if anybody was getting like a bulk orders, maybe additional discounts. So instead of getting, some of the miners are even more expensive, because if you were getting Dragon Ball, there were more money for it. But again, AL3 is a lot cheaper, but it's not on the network yet. It's 3 times less per gigahash price, obviously. So yeah, it will add a lot of hash rate here pretty soon, by October, when it's gonna start being shipped. So anyways, that's not the point here. What we're trying to figure out now, the main part of this video is the overclocked. Okay, so two of this unit been overclocked, and you could see 700 megahertz, I'm sorry, on the chip clocks. The temperature of the chips been doing pretty well, I think, between 75 76 on this one, and between 73 75 on this one. So with these temperatures we should achieve pretty good result. The power stage is pretty good, 58, which is very nice, I think, in my opinion. And 55 on this, it's even cooler than the board exhaust temperature. I actually never seen that before. Usually power stage is slightly higher. But anyways, so these two units running all right. One day 22, it's been restarted one time when I just moved them around, but it was constantly for last day mining pretty much on the hump pool. So we're gonna go over the hump pool rewards, because I collect data every single day, same time at 3 p.m. So this way will give me more accurate 24 hours rewards on every set. So we have set of these two miners and then set of these number 3 and 4. So now let's go to my spreadsheet and let's take a look. This is when I got the second two of these miners right here on Tuesday, but this was not the full day probably on mining on Wednesday, so we're not gonna count that. We'll just count, let's count just 4 days. This is full mining 4 days, right? So let's add this up, and let's add these 4 days up right over here. So we've been mining 1034 lithium on the overclocked and 990 on 2 of the AL0 not overclocked. Now let's take a look here. I'm gonna zoom in slightly, see, and make sure you guys could see this data. Let me move this around here. Okay, so basically you want to see this numbers right over here. Okay, we're gonna work on this last four days, right? 1 2 3 4. Okay, the last day is obviously with the network hash rate. Now we're getting less than 1 lithium a day. When it just came out, it was about 3, almost 3 lithium, I believe, right? Is that right? On August 20, let's go back to August 25th, when I just got them. I don't see them here. Where is my lithium AL0? So it probably was from 26, yeah, right over here. Yeah, I was getting 3.5 lithium, 7 on 2 of these miners, not overclocked. 3.5, then dropped to 2.5, then 3 was 1 day, so the network hash rate fluctuated a little bit here. But that's from August 28. Now we are almost 3.5 times less in rewards, because we're not getting 3.5 lithium per miner. It's a 1. It's even less than 1 lithium, right? So they significantly dropped the reward, basically, because obviously the hash rate is going up crazy, and it will continue to go up because of AL3 coming up and stuff like that. But that's not the point here. What I'm trying to figure for myself, again, this video not sponsored by any overclocks firmware devs or anybody, not the Tswift, not Pbfarmer. I'm just trying to figure that thing for myself only, and then maybe it will help somebody to make decision like, hey, do I want to take advantage. Now the power cost for extra 40 watts in so basically I'm getting like 110 here and 140 at the wall. Let's round it out. Let me do 260. Okay, so we are kind of like right there. So it cost me 19 cents more on my electrical cost, because my electrical cost is higher. It's 18 cents right now average. There's peak hours, there's 14 cents during not peak and a little higher over the peak. So average is 18 cents. and it basically cost me an extra 19 cents a day, right, to run overclocks. Now, the question here really, do I get back this 19 cents? And really, I have 1034 lithium mined for 4 days, full 4 days overclocked, and 990 lithium not overclocked, full 4 days, right? So we're gonna go ahead here. Let me zoom into that cell so you could guys see. And I'm gonna go closer right there. Okay, so 1034, 990, and we'll just add a simple formula how much extra we did. So we're gonna deduct from 10, 90, we have 44.44 extra lithium in 4 days. That's basically, if we divide by 4, it's 0.11 lithium. It's not dollars, it's a lithium. Some reason copying this. So it will be 0.11, right? And it's about 0.055 lithium per miner. Okay, so 11, let's look at this setup. So if I'm paying 19 cents more, let's see how much 11 a lithium will worth. Today is a lithium around $1.60, and we're simply gonna multiply, make another formula. We'll multiply this to 11.11. It's 18 cents. So I'm pretty much breaking even on this setup. So overclocking this extra is breaking even, and this is fine, and it's at 18 cents. So if you're at like 10 cents or 12 cents, it absolutely makes sense. Now also, if you are, and again, there is a dev fees there possible. So I'm supposed to get 11, well, I was getting 11. I want to go back to this calculation real quick and clarify. So that's what I actually got in 4 days, so roughly 11 per day extra, but obviously it's kind of rounded number because every day was lower and lower and lower, right? The rewards. So, but it's average per day based on last 4 days mining. Now, what I supposed to get, let's calculate the last day of mining. This is the reward, 0.00222 per gigahash. So what I did is basically divide these two lithiums that I mine on overclocked, and I divided by 900 gigahash. That's my average, right? It's actually 914, but I don't want to go crazy. I just rounded up to 900 to be fair, because this number will go even lower. But I just trying to be more or less kind of like closer. And then on not overclocked, I'm doing like 840, which is actually not 840, 835, right? Roughly, you saw the numbers. So you see how it performs a little bit better on every single day on not overclocked. So for some reason, it's not really 900, it's probably a little bit lower. So I'm not 100% sure if the dev fees there and stuff like that, but it's only 1%, so it shouldn't be that much, because 1% it would be just maybe off by 2 over here, not by 7. So anyways, let's just work with these numbers. Basically, based on this number on overclocked, let's use the lower number, right? I'm supposed to get 70 extra, right? Let's do 65. I'm supposed to get 65 gigahash. We're gonna multiply, this is my rewards for the last day per gigahash. What I did, I divided 2 lithium by 900 gigahash, so this is my reward, 0.002222 lithium per gigahash, and I'm gonna multiply by 65 gigahash. That's my extra gigahash. So it's 0.14 lithium, which is based on 160 price. It's supposed to be 14 cents, which is pretty close, I guess. But it is, I'm getting 18, so in average, but just for today it's a little bit lower, because we can see it's only 8.8, not 11, right? So every day it will change. So the point I'm making here is it was 18 cents average just for this last 4 days, but going forward now I'm gonna be only 14 cents different, and the next day probably will be only 12, and so on and so on. So I have to really carefully track this, and at some point, probably for 18 cents electric, it's not gonna make sense, which is actually in 8 days or 9 days I'm gonna drop my electric rate, gonna drop to 12 cents, which is gonna be great, and it will still make sense to me, right? So make sure you do your calculation. If your electric rate are super high, like 20 cents or over, you really need to consider, like, do you want to overclock this, or you could just simply buy extra lithium, in my opinion, right? If you really after the coin. Okay, so anyways, with that, just a little clarification how I calculate that. Obviously it's really based on my total on my data collected so far, and again, everybody else could have different data, and you may have better rewards or less rewards, but do your own kind of calculations, see where you at per gigahash, calculate that, see what your extra gigahash. My opinion, you can calculate even with one miner if you haven't, and when you have this miner, just put it together, like what extra you are getting on the rewards based on the extra gigahash you're getting from your miner, and calculate the power consumption of your extra usage. If it's 20 watt extra, how much extra you spending on that power. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. Again, it's really strictly to my specific miners, because everybody's silicon gonna be completely different, your settings gonna be different, your temperature's different, so don't base your calculation just on mine directly, because you may have better result or maybe even worse result. So I don't know what your hash rate averages there, and especially on the pool, because you may have a pretty nice hash rate on the web GUI here on the Pbfarmers firmware. Absolutely nicely done. And you can, the nicest part that I like is this target temperature, which is absolutely insane. You can set it and forget it, and absolutely keeps these MOSFETs on the superior level of the temperature again. And the chip's temperature I could achieve a little bit higher with reversing my miner horizontally with the larger fins down, so it collects more heat for the chips. So that's just a little kind of trick that I figured, but anyways, you have to play with your own device to achieve that. Now, this is not overclocked units, right? So it's basically stack firmware, haven't done anything, it just runs straight through their fans. After on the after, again, it's like 834 416, you could see that 362 405. So kind of low here, right, on the 5 minute. But again, when we go and look 24 hours rate for these miners, I'm gonna refresh it again, and you could see it's 835, 848, 824 for not overclocked. And let's go back to overclocked right over here. Let's refresh one more time. 491, 466, 461, 435, 465, 455, which is, in my opinion, is very good for what we could get on Humpool, the hash rate. Obviously, they based your rewards on your average hash rate 24 hours, but again, also every contribution, it depends probably within, like, I don't know if they measure by every 15 minutes, 1 hour or so, but you could be at the very good spot when you were high peaked, and you could have collect more rewards on the pool because you contributed more hash rate at supposedly at some specific time frame, right? So there is so much to it that really gonna matter on your total rewards, your daily rewards and your weekly rewards and so forth. But at least that kind of, if you do this little get your data together and, like, you know, gather this and kind of get yourself in a position, like collecting information daily, weekly maybe, and just figured out where are you with the power usage extra and does it make sense. Because right now it's totally makes sense. Mining overall it's 305 still, and with my even electric rate I'm still doing $2, which is not huge, but it's still making money. So I'm good with the mining in the profits. I'm making 3 times more than the power cost, which is great, right? So this is what we're here for when we mine. We're supposed to just look at these numbers and make sure. Like for some that I had to shut down my KS, these miners, I have to shut them down for my KS5Ls now at my peak time, because I spending more when I go in the peak time. So for me it's just I need to shut it down and keep it all positive numbers here, because they go really quickly negative if I continue to mine on the peak hours, right? So do your own calculation here, your own research. I just want to give you kind of few points there, what I did and how did I compare. And I make sure these miners mine at the same time. So like you can compare if you put one overclocked and then you switch couple days later, because again, network hash rate is going to change. The pool lock is going to change. So there is so many variables besides your silicon lottery, the pool hash rate, the specific pool lock on the specific time of a day probably as well. So there is a lot of variables there. So don't just rely on one day of mining or even weekly, but overall you could just track and do the basic math there, and like, hey, it's doing great. Even if I break even on this 18 cents, I'm still doing extra Casper, right? I mean, a lithium, sorry, it's not Casper, right? So I'm still doing an extra 0.11 a lithium per day. Why not, right? So it's another one a lithium per every 10 days. Well, obviously it will reduce because we are going with the hash rate every single day, going at least 1 petahash up in and up every single day. It was not a day probably, to be honest, it's just like constantly 45 degree, if not more, it's just going up. We have, well, here 12, 13, 13, 13, okay, take it back, it was 3 days, 13, then 14, and then we got 15.6, so it's more than 1 petahash in a day, right? But it was days that it went from 3 to 4, then 6, then 7, you know, crazy jumps. It was going up, back again, down. But anyways, it's going very quickly with the rewards changing absolutely insane. So yes, the network hash rate almost 5 times, and our rewards probably 5 times lower by now. So take that in consideration, because it's really, you have to watch out closely to mine profitable on this AL zeros. So that's it for this video. Hopefully not too boring. I just want to bring it out and show you guys that yes, overclocks works. It definitely mines more coins, but you need to really do your calculation and really check it out how it's doing. It's not really overheating anything. It doesn't do a lot of damage, I don't think, because it just runs as almost as normal. I didn't even notice like any huge amount of heat, any huge other than just extra 20 watts of power, right? So there's nothing really up to this overclocks yet, and we don't know if it's going to be any other possibility, because chips doesn't want to take anything higher than 700 megahash. So unlucky for these chips, it's impossible most likely to go over that hash rate. So we kind of probably at the maximum level there, and watch out, you may need even sometimes to reduce. If you can do stable 700, you should be fine. You cannot go over that number, but if you're not stable, you can go a little bit lower, like 695. I had to do it once, but then I kind of went back and it's stabilized for me. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you like it. click the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.